When Shirley Jackson's The Lottery was published in New Yorker magazine, it received more mail than any other work they had ever printed. Readers were angry, confused, and shocked. Many weren't sure exactly what the story meant. Can you recall your immediate reaction after you read it the first time? Since those angry letters, the story has been included in hundreds of textbooks and anthologies, and it has even been made into a movie. There are so many things we could discuss about this short story, but actually what I'd like to focus on is close reading. Close reading is a careful, thorough analysis of a piece of literature in which you become a detective of sorts. You must pay attention to the details and short segments of the text, sentence by sentence, or even word by word. It's like using the zoom lens of a camera, and it's what every English teacher expects you to do in a critical or analytical essay. Close reading is a skill that will help you complete assignments at work, and it'll also help you win arguments, in addition to writing essays in English classes. You may have heard the phrase that the devil is in the details. I don't know if that's true, but I can tell you that the best interpretation of a literary work is in the details. That said, what details did you pick up on in Shirley Jackson's The Lottery? Many readers say that they were shocked and surprised by the ending of the story. However, in good literature, there really is no such thing as a surprise ending. Good writers foreshadow the ending by leaving clues throughout the story. So what clues or details should have warned you that Tess Hutchinson would be stoned to death? One big clue was in paragraph 2, when the narrator tells us that Bobby Martin had filled his pockets with stones and that the Jones boys and Dickie Delacroix were making piles of stones. When you read those details, you should have put up a red flag. Why would they be collecting rocks on lottery day? What do rocks have to do with the lottery? Detail number 2. Did you notice how many times the word black was used? Black, of course, is a universal symbol of evil or death. The box is black, and the dot on the paper is black. Detail number 3. You were also told that the lottery took about 2 hours, which is a long period of time for the kind of lottery that we're familiar with. So that should have made you a little more alert. Detail number 4. Did you pick up on the names of some of the characters? Mr. Summers, for example, conducts the lottery, and he is a man of leisure. The narrator tells us that he had the time and energy to devote to civic activities. He also owns the coal company, a very prosperous sort of business. And, of course, rich people summer, meaning that they travel somewhere just to hang out. Additionally, Mr. Graves' name foreshadows the gravity or seriousness of the lottery. Detail number 5. Did you realize that only the men control the lottery? Mr. Summers conducts the lottery. Mr. Graves carries the stool and stores the box in his barn sometimes. Mr. Martin and his son hold the box steady. It's also the men who pull the papers in the first 2 rounds. Speaking of which, detail number 6. Did you figure out that the lottery has 3 rounds? In the first round, the oldest male in a family picks a paper to determine which family will be chosen. In the second round, the male head of each household within that family pulls to see which family will be chosen. You might have missed that when Mr. Summers asked, "You got any other households in the Hutchinsons?" And what he meant was that if there were perhaps 3 sons, then there would be 3 other households. Finally, each member of the household pulls to determine which person will be killed. And then detail number 7. Did you conclude that Mrs. Summers had been killed in a previous lottery? How do we know that? First, Mr. Summers seems not to pull as the only surviving member of his family. Second, we're told he has no kids, as if his wife died before they could have children. And then finally, she isn't present, and we're told she was a scold, past tense. Now, we can't say for certain, but that is an inference that we might have picked up on. So how many of these details did you pick up on your own? How many others did you find? More importantly, what do these details mean, and why did Jackson include them? For one, Jackson wants us to know that she's describing a patriarchal or male-dominated society. Men are in charge. Second, she wants us to know that she's talking about work and the value of work. When the men are introduced to readers, for example, we're often told the kind of work they do. But the women seem all to be homemakers dressed in aprons. Their work is rarely discussed by the narrator. Additionally, the oldest working person pulls the slip. Remember, in the family where the father was dead, the mother was allowed to pull because the son was only 16 and not yet working. So when it comes down to an employee or a woman, then the woman, the employee would win, and if there is no employee, then the woman does. A third topic is tradition. A cynical definition of tradition might be doing things out of habit and custom rather than for legitimate reasons, and doing those things generation after generation. And we see this when everyone has stones except Tessie's young son, little Davy, who clearly doesn't understand how the lottery works. The same was true when the papers were selected. People had to hold Davy and tell him what to do, and yet everyone expects him to participate in a process which is going to leave him motherless. So it should have come as no surprise to us that Tessie won the lottery. She did women's work, which the society doesn't value. And she arrived late, suggesting that she has a hard time managing her work and her other obligations. The theme of this story seems to be that we often willingly participate in traditions that we could easily change if we understood how harmful they were. And I think that's something that we can still continue to think about, what traditions we just go along with just because that's the way we've always done them. Wedding traditions, family traditions, etc. Shirley Jackson rarely explained her work, but she did offer a few explanations for this story. Jackson stated that her purpose had been to shock the readers with a graphic demonstration of the pointless violence and general inhumanity in life. I'd say she succeeded. I'm Professor George, and this has been a discussion of close reading in Shirley Jackson's The Lottery. Thanks for listening.